Well, I am back at my parents' place, or near my parents' place, in Livonia, Michigan. It's also 15 degrees Fahrenheit, or negative 11 or so Celsius, at the very first park run in the United States. First in North America, actually. And maybe I can win it. A few months ago, a friend of mine and I were talking about if we thought we'd ever get a P1 at a park run. And Tim thought he could definitely, if he got really lucky, get one. And a couple weeks ago he did. So honestly, it's not nearly as impressive as if I get one, because he's a much better runner than me though. So looking at the times here at Livonia, there's about 100 runners, and it looks like I have a decent shot. Although now looking at the course, we will see. But I got about 20 more minutes to warm up.
Well, here we go. Walking up to the start line, I'd been told by several of the people there that I should get maybe up to the front based on what I was wearing. Yeah, I wasn't too covert in the fact that I might be taking this a little too seriously, but they yelled go, and up, off, and away. So quickly was looking around to see who would be going out with me. It was going a little fast. It's a tiny bit downhill here, and the snow wasn't too bad at this point. Also, you're just starting. So quickly seeing these two people pull out ahead of me, even though we were cruising at a little sub 20 pace still. Thought either these two are going to be with me all day, or they might just not know what they're doing and went out far too quickly. But as we were going this way, I still didn't know exactly what the route was going to be. Before the race, I had looked on Parkrun's website, and they showed this map. So looked at that map, read about it. Actually, before, when I ran my warm-up, I ran that route. So I knew exactly kind of what to expect there. Even when I thought it might be hard to do sub 20 on this course, that was me thinking I was running the same course, mostly on tarmac, but it did have patches that you can see that were icy. I knew I would be worrying about that, and there was part of it that wasn't plowed, so it was just a lot of snow. But right before the race, I went over and spoke to Kathy, who gave me the briefing, and during the briefing she said, "Oh, we're on the summer course," and showed me this map that I had no idea what I was in for, but it looked more like this. So with that in mind, I knew we were going to be running all through the woods, all over the place, and almost none on pavement or tarmac. So at this point, went out, felt like I was feeling pretty good, saw that she was going to be a really strong runner up ahead of me. She looked quite comfortable and in control. And in second place here, already starting to feel the fact that we're running through thick snow. You can see the pace there in kilometers, so 4:28. So, I mean, we're close to like 7:15 miling right here, and it's feeling pretty hard. The heart rate that I was tracking through most of this, it started off accurate, climbed up to about 150, and then it's not accurate for a little while, but you will see later where all of a sudden it comes to life and shows really what I am feeling. So at this point, still feeling pretty good. Still feeling really good, actually. You know, we're less than a K in, but I'm noticing she's pulling away a little bit. I'm hoping if I just stick to my consistent effort, I will kind of stay the course. And here was the first time I got passed by this guy, Blue Top, who pulled ahead, and I thought, okay, I might be trading a little bit with him throughout the rest of this. But at this point, I actually wasn't that upset because I didn't really know where the course went. So the nice thing about her leading us out here was I didn't know where we were supposed to be going or turning, and at least this way I didn't have to be constantly looking for the next pylon. So followed them into the woods here and just thought, okay, just keep a pretty consistent distance between you and them. Try not to fall. This was all super slippery. Also, so whenever I would try to turn it up a little bit, I would end up just my feet slipping more and more. So it was trying to find that nice balance between pushing too hard where I couldn't get a good grip and not pushing hard enough. But the vapor flies were an interesting choice at this point. I was noticing before the race, a lot of people were wearing trail shoes for this, and some people even had crampons on the bottom of their shoes to help them get better traction. So the vapor flies felt quite slippery. Super useful for the periods that were on pavement, but anything that was not, they were less useful and they have almost no traction to them whatsoever. So jumping ahead a bit to about 1.5K, we came out of the woods, which was nice to see a little bit of an opening. And it was also really nice to be able to see where everyone was at this point. So again, I could kind of see where she was and where he was. Part of running this course that was interesting, being a person who runs primarily in the UK, was talking to some of the people before the race. It was interesting to find out, since there aren't nearly as many park runs, some people were just diehard Livonia. And I actually talked to one guy that had hit over 450 park runs specific to Livonia. So certainly really consistent audience showing up at Livonia. And as you could see there, we came through the first mile at 6:55. It was hard to really tell what exactly would be good. At this point, I was just gauging myself based on what other people were potentially doing, hoping as long as I kept them in range, I was feeling good about it.
God.
So coming out of the woods at about 1.8K now, this part of the course was the deepest in terms of the snow. It seemed like kind of like the snow drifts that all kind of floated down in that direction. So I can see them up ahead of me, but at the same time, I can also kind of feel like they're getting further away. And as you can see from my pace, I'm running 4:45, so I'm up close to 7:40, 7:45 pace at this point, and I'm putting in a really good effort, but I'm still just not really catching up at all at this point. As we are running through these fields, the one part of the course that I think I'm going to know, and we come through 2K here in 4:29, so definitely slowing down a bit. But as we come up to this portion of the course, I know there's going to be a little bit of the course, the only real part, on tarmac. So I'm just saying how much closer I can potentially get to Blue Top in front of me before we get onto the tarmac. But one thing I'm noticing here is every step he's taking, once they make it up there, is a step further they're pulling away from me. So trying to get on there as quickly as possible as I fight through this last bit of snow. I'm thinking, okay, this tarmac is my only chance to use my vapor flies to my advantage. And as soon as I hit it, I know this is pretty much my best shot at closing the gaps on everyone ahead of me. I'm looking up ahead to see how far ahead they are as they make the turn. So they're making the turn there, and I know they have maybe 9 seconds up on me at that point. And as I make the turn, I know I really have to put in a super strong effort on this portion to close that gap. So as we can see, my pace at this point is coming down closer to 4. And pretty soon I start pushing into the 350 range. And I just know, okay, this isn't that long. Let's just put in a really solid effort here and see where I can get. As we work through this part, we will see how far and how close we can get over the course of the I don't know, about 0.8 of a K that is actually on tarmac. As I'm just about to catch him here, I'm feeling really good about it, still feeling in control, but I know we're about to get back to the part of the course where he seems to run faster. So hoping I can make up all that ground and just kind of stick on him as we get through the rest of here. This is also where my heart rate starts to work again. So as you can see how I'm really feeling, climbs from 150 all the way to the high 180s as we get through here. So from here on in, the heart rate is actually accurate again. And coming through 3K, a nice 406. It was a little bit off the tarmac, but most of the time I was running on tarmac, I was running sub 4. So getting back to the woods, the mile 2 came through at 7:01. And at this point, I'm still pretty close to him, still on him pretty well, and trying to stay with him. But I'm definitely noticing he's slightly pulling away. And I would also find at these times in the woods, if they kind of turned corners before me or ever got slightly further ahead, it was definitely a little worse for motivation. You don't have anyone specifically you're looking for. And at that point, mine would drift slightly and you might slow down what doesn't feel like much to you, but could just be a few seconds, and all of a sudden you've dropped a little bit more distance. But coming back out onto the flats and out onto the open areas here, I'm feeling like they're both pulling away slightly from me. So trying to put in a good effort to get as close as I can before we dive back into the woods when there's a high likelihood I'm not going to be able to see them anymore. And all these people running by, getting nice cheers from all of them. A lot of good, helpful motivation there. So through the 4th K, easily the slowest one in 4:39. And jumping up here, at this point, I know I have 1K left. I've heard the last ping from my watch, and I'm just trying to pour it all out in this last K, but at the same time, it's still so slippery out there. Every time I try to turn it up too much, I'm definitely slipping a bit, can't quite do it. And we can see even with my heart rate close to 190, I'm still running at 429 pace, which is like 715 pace overall. But I know we're getting close to the point where we're going to leave the woods, and I'm turning it up. And in 3, 2, 1, 0. Oh! I nearly ate it there and fell down flat on the course. But luckily popped back up quickly and headed out with a newfound surge of adrenaline from nearly cracking my head on the ground there. So what I found interesting about this last turn was, since they were such clear demarcation turns, I watched her turn and I started counting down, and I watched him turn and started counting down. So at this point, I knew I was 9 seconds behind her, and I knew I was 7 seconds behind him. And I thought, okay, I have about 700 meters left to go, and I just need to close that 9-second gap. The only problem was this ground was so slippery, so difficult to traverse, that even really kind of turning it up, you can see I'm getting to 4:22 pace, but I'm not necessarily closing too much of a gap. In fact, I'm wondering, are they getting further away? So as we turn onto the final street here, I'm looking at kind of where they're at, and I can't wait to get up onto the street. I'm noticing they've taken the inside lane, which might be a little shorter, but they're still running on the grass. So I go up to the tarmac, nearly running into this car, but I don't really care at this point. I need the pavement to have any shot of speeding up. As we can see, my pace quickly starts coming down. I know I only have 250 meters left to go, so I start trying to turn it on. I think if I can just finish this off at sub 4 pace, I might have a shot of catching up to them. So as we start coming down this little hill, you can see I'm sub 4, feeling good. There they are up ahead of me. At this point, I'm thinking they might be a little too far for me to catch up to, but I'm going to put in some of my hardest efforts to see if I can actually catch up with them before the end, only be a few seconds behind them. But they turn this corner and I can't see them anymore. And this is also where you can see the slope there. It goes up to 3. It's all pretty much uphill, and the same way as it was so easy coming down this hill, now it is so slippery and also uphill that I feel like a cartoon character. I'm just spinning my wheels trying to move. And I can turn the corner, I can finally see the end, and I'm like, oh, they're already done. So they've already gotten away, and I can hear everyone cheering. But at this point, I'm running as hard as I can. It's like a bad dream where you're trying to sprint, but you're running. I mean, at this point, I'm running 4:30, and I'm just running as hard as I can, trying to get across that finish line. But I finish and collect my P3, which was the highest I'd ever had. So was excited to get that new highest point, but not quite the P1 I was originally hoping for. And after the race, talked to a couple of the people, talked to the blue top and the girl that had beat me. Turned out he ran in college, was a cross country runner, and she actually just finished off her season as the 4th fastest female high school cross country runner. So for all I know, they were both putting in slightly lesser efforts, but it certainly looked like everyone was giving it their all out there. So that was Livonia Parkrun. It's a fun, interesting course, whether you do the summer course or if they open up the tarmac area. Lots of fun people, and it seems like they have a great community there. So if you're ever in the area, give that a look. But I will be looking around the area for any other potential park runs I could do where maybe I can better my P3 position, be it here or back in the UK. Subscribe to check that out.